Welcome, dear listeners, to History with Herodotus, where we delve into the depths of time to uncover the mysteries of our collective past. Today, we embark on a journey to explore one of the most pivotal events in human history, the fall of Constantinople. This epochal moment, which occurred on May 29, 1453, marked the culmination of a complex series of events that unfolded over centuries, involving empires, dynasties, and powerful figures who shaped the course of human history. As we stand at the threshold of this narrative, let us gaze upon the majestic city of Constantinople, situated on the Bosphorus Strait, where Europe and Asia converge. This strategic location made Constantinople a coveted prize for centuries, with its impressive walls, towering spires, and bustling markets. The city's rich history dates back to 330 AD, when Emperor Constantine I founded it as the capital of the Eastern Roman Empire, also known as the Byzantine Empire. To understand the precursors to the fall of Constantinople, we must delve into the earliest history of the Byzantine Empire, which was marked by a series of challenges and transformations. One of the key figures who played a significant role in shaping the course of Byzantine history was Emperor Justinian I, who ruled from 527 to 565 AD. During his reign, Justinian implemented a series of reforms aimed at strengthening the empire's military, administrative, and legal structures. However, his efforts were soon undermined by the challenges posed by the Persian Wars, which began in 526 AD and lasted for over 2 decades. As the Byzantine Empire navigated these challenges, it also faced the emergence of new powers in the region, including the rise of Islam in the 7th century AD. The Arab conquests of the Middle East and North Africa had a profound impact on the Byzantine Empire, which lost significant territories and resources during this period. Despite these setbacks, the Byzantine Empire continued to endure, with emperors like Emperor Leo III, who ruled from 717 to 741 AD, implementing reforms aimed at strengthening the empire's military and administrative structures. One of the most significant events in the early history of the fall of Constantinople was the Fourth Crusade, which began in 1202 AD. Initially intended to liberate the Holy Land from Muslim rule, the Crusades soon became a source of conflict between the Byzantine Empire and the Latin states that had been established in the Near East. The Crusaders' sack of Constantinople in 1204 AD marked a significant turning point in the history of the city, as it led to the establishment of the Latin Empire, which lasted for over half a century. As we explore the earliest history of the fall of Constantinople, we find ourselves in the midst of a complex tapestry woven from threads of politics, culture, and geography. The stage is set for a drama that will unfold over centuries, involving emperors and sultans, merchants and warriors, each playing their part in the grand narrative of human history. We see the emergence of powerful figures like Emperor Alexios I Komnenos, who ruled from 1081 to 118 AD, and implemented a series of reforms aimed at strengthening the empire's military and administrative structures. The Ottoman Empire, which would eventually become the instrument of Constantinople's downfall, was founded by Osman Bey in the late 13th century. Initially, a small tribal state in northwestern Anatolia, the Ottomans began to expand their territories through a series of conquests, taking advantage of the weakness of the Byzantine Empire and the fragmentation of the Seljuk Turks. By the mid-14th century, the Ottomans had established themselves as a major power in the region, with their capital in Bursa, and were poised to make their move against Constantinople. As we reach the end of this segment, we find ourselves at the threshold of a new era in the history of the fall of Constantinople. The Byzantine Empire, once a mighty and glorious state, is now facing its greatest challenge yet, as the Ottoman Empire stands poised on the brink of a historic triumph. Join me as we step into the midst of this captivating narrative, where the intricate dance of power and politics will ultimately lead to one of the most significant turning points in human history. Welcome back to our journey through the history of the fall of Constantinople. As we left off in our previous segment, the Byzantine Empire was facing its greatest challenge yet, with the Ottoman Empire standing poised on the brink of a historic triumph. The 14th century was a time of great turmoil for the Byzantine Empire. The Black Death, which ravaged Europe in the mid-14th century, had a devastating impact on Constantinople, weakening its economy and population. Meanwhile, the Ottoman Empire continued to expand its territories, taking advantage of the weakness of the Byzantine Empire and the fragmentation of the Seljuk Turks. One of the key figures who played a significant role in shaping the course of Byzantine history during this period was Emperor John VI Kantakozenos, who ruled from 1347 to 1354. Kantakozenos attempted to strengthen the empire's military and administrative structures, but his efforts were ultimately undermined by the challenges posed by the Ottoman Empire. The Ottomans, under the leadership of Sultan Orhan I, continued to push against the Byzantine Empire's borders, taking key cities such as Gallipoli and Adrianople. The Byzantines, meanwhile, were plagued by internal conflicts and power struggles, which further weakened their ability to resist the Ottoman advance. As the 14th century drew to a close, the Byzantine Empire was in a state of crisis. The empire's territories had been significantly reduced, its economy was in shambles, and its military was severely weakened. The Ottomans, on the other hand, were stronger than ever, with a powerful army and a well-organized administrative system. The 15th century saw the rise of one of the most famous figures in Ottoman history, Sultan Mehmed II. Mehmed, also known as the Conqueror, was determined to take Constantinople and make it the capital of the Ottoman Empire. He began to make preparations for a siege, gathering a massive army and building a powerful fleet. The Byzantines, meanwhile, were led by Emperor Constantinople, who ruled from 1449 to 1453. Constantine was a brave and determined leader, but he faced an impossible task. The Byzantine Empire was vastly outnumbered and outgunned, and its defenses were weakened by centuries of neglect and decay. As the Ottoman army approached Constantinople, the city's inhabitants prepared for the worst. The walls were reinforced, the gates were barricaded, and the defenders took up their positions. But despite their bravery, the Byzantines were no match for the Ottoman army. The siege of Constantinople began on April 6, 1453, and lasted for 53 days. The Ottomans bombarded the city with cannons, breached its walls, and poured inside. The defenders fought valiantly, but they were vastly outnumbered and outgunned. On May 29, 1453, the Ottoman army finally broke through the gates of Constantinople, and the city fell. The fall of Constantinople marked the end of the Byzantine Empire and the beginning of a new era in world history. The Ottoman Empire would go on to become one of the most powerful empires in history, spanning 3 continents and lasting for over 600 years. The legacy of the Byzantine Empire, meanwhile, would live on, influencing art, architecture, literature, and culture for centuries to come. As we reach the end of this segment, we find ourselves at a pivotal moment in history, where the fate of empires has been decided. The intricate dance of power and politics has ultimately led to one of the most significant turning points in human history. Join me as we continue our journey through the history of the fall of Constantinople. Welcome back to our journey through the history of the fall of Constantinople. In this final segment, we'll explore the aftermath of the fall of Constantinople and examine the impact it had on the world. The fall of Constantinople sent shockwaves throughout Europe, marking the end of the Byzantine Empire and the beginning of a new era in world history. The Ottoman Empire, under the leadership of Sultan Mehmed II, began to consolidate its power, absorbing many of the former Byzantine territories into its own empire. The city of Constantinople, now renamed Istanbul, became the capital of the Ottoman Empire, and its strategic location at the crossroads of Europe and Asia made it a hub of trade and commerce. The aftermath of the fall saw a significant influx of refugees, fleeing from the conquered city to other parts of Europe. Many of these refugees were scholars, artists, and intellectuals who brought with them knowledge, ideas, and cultural practices that would have a profound impact on Western civilization. The fall of Constantinople is often credited with sparking the Italian Renaissance, as many of these refugees settled in Italy, bringing with them ancient Greek and Roman texts, as well as knowledge of classical art and architecture. The Ottoman Empire's expansion into Eastern Europe also had significant consequences for the balance of power on the continent. The Ottomans would go on to challenge the authority of the Holy Roman Empire, and their advances would eventually be checked by the Habsburgs at the Battle of Vienna in 1683. However, for over a century, the Ottoman Empire was the dominant power in Eastern Europe, shaping the politics, culture, and society of the region. The fall of Constantinople also had significant implications for the development of international relations. The Ottomans' expansion into Europe marked the beginning of a new era of great power politics, as European states began to form alliances and rivalries with the Ottoman Empire. The concept of diplomatic relations between states, as we understand it today, began to take shape during this period, with the establishment of formal embassies and diplomatic missions. In the centuries that followed, the legacy of the Byzantine Empire continued to shape art, architecture, literature, and culture. The iconic Hagia Sophia, built by the Byzantines in the 6th century, was converted into a mosque by the Ottomans and remains one of the most famous landmarks in Istanbul today. The Byzantine style of art and architecture, characterized by its use of mosaics, domes, and ornate decoration, continued to influence artists and builders throughout Europe. As we reflect on the significance of the fall of Constantinople, it's clear that this event marked a turning point in world history. The end of the Byzantine Empire and the rise of the Ottoman Empire had far-reaching consequences for politics, culture, and society, shaping the course of European and Middle Eastern history for centuries to come. In the words of the historian Edward Gibbon, the fall of Constantinople was a calamity of which the extent and effects can never be fully apprehended. As we conclude our journey through the history of the fall of Constantinople, we're reminded of the profound impact that this event had on shaping the world we live in today. Thank you for joining me on this podcast, and I hope you've gained a deeper understanding of this pivotal moment in human history. That's all for today's History with Herodotus. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, remember that to understand the present, we must first understand the past.